Good morning, everyone. Welcome to this very important webinar on portable generator safety. I want to thank you for spending your lunch hour with us today. And to take a second to introduce myself, my name is Sharon McNabb. I'm the president and founder of the National Carbon Monoxide Awareness Association. And today we have with us three important experts on portable generator safety. Tanya Battle, president and founder of the Richard A. Battle Foundation, will bring us valuable insight on this topic from the perspective of a generator user as well as a consumer. Then we have Marshal Sean Toomey, the New Hampshire State Fire Marshal, and board and secretary, treasurer for the National Association of State Fire Marshals. And then we have Mark Carpenter, founder and president of Gentent. Gentent offers one of the leading generator safety solutions. I'm going to start off the webinar by discussing some of the reasons why portable generators are an issue, and we'll talk about some of the safety features that can be put in place to help the users use them properly. If you have any questions about the topics, please feel free to drop your questions into the chat throughout the hour, and we'll address those questions at the end of the session today. NCOAA is very interested in ending carbon monoxide poisoning from all sources. We believe that carbon monoxide poisoning is 100% preventable, and portable generators are a significant portion of those poisonings. So just to lay some of the groundwork and ensure that we're all on the same page, about 200 consumers die each year from carbon monoxide poisoning from engine-driven tools, and specifically generators. And from 2004 until 2001, CO poisonings from generators resulted in over 1,300 fatalities and more than 75,000 injuries that required medical attention. Those are some pretty staggering numbers when we think that carbon monoxide poisoning is completely preventable. Research suggests that CO poisoning from portable generators can be more deadly than natural disasters. The whiteout that we had in Texas in 2021, more people were killed from CO poisoning, specifically from generators, as well as some other things such as bringing charcoal into the home. But more people died from CO poisoning during that whiteout in Texas than from the storm itself. A typical portable generator can expel as much carbon monoxide as hundreds of vehicles. And fatal CO poisoning can occur in less than 5 minutes. They're very, very dangerous. And without the proper safety precautions, we run the risk. So it's really important to note that CO is the primary source of incidences with generators, but there are other hazards such as electrical shock and wet conditions. There's a risk of fire from improper placement or even refueling practices. So today's discussion will focus on keeping everyone safe during those emergencies and using proper safety products to ensure safe generator usage and proper distancing. I'm going to introduce Ms. Tanya Battle, founder of the Richard A. Battle Foundation, and she's going to share with you her personal story and also her tireless effort to raise awareness through her nonprofit. Welcome, Tanya.
Thank you, Sharon. And good afternoon, everyone. Again, my name is Tanya Battle. I am a retired registered nurse here in Flint, Michigan, and I am also the co-founder and president of the Richard A. Battle Foundation. Our foundation is a 501c3 nonprofit organization with the mission to promote carbon monoxide awareness. In 2012, I married my best friend. And in 2013, my best friend passed away from carbon monoxide poisoning due to a generator accident during a massive power outage in our area that lasted 5 days. Our power was out. And this was the result of a terrible storm. Power lines were down, trees were uprooted. There was devastation and just mass destruction all over our subdivision. And a friend offered my husband to let him use their generator so that we can just try to get power back in the home so we can have heat and electricity. However, in that meantime, we went to the hotel where all of our neighbors were. Everybody was at a hotel. And I woke up the morning, he wasn't there. And he wasn't answering any of my calls. And when I got home, the garage was partially open. And when I lifted it up to go into the garage, the back door was open to the house. And I just remember smelling an overwhelming smell of exhaust. It was just overwhelming. And also just the sound of the generator. And so I went in the house and I found my husband, who was unresponsive, and resuscitative efforts couldn't revive him. So this fatal accident not only was devastating to myself and my family, but it was devastating to our whole Flint community and beyond Flint. We knew that God must have a purpose for this because this was like too big for us to handle alone. And the Bible tells us that God will take our ashes and give us beauty, and that he'll give us the oil of joy for mourning. So we began to pray and we began to research this carbon monoxide. What is it? And, just what is it? What could we have done different? And in learning more about carbon monoxide, we realized that if we didn't know a lot about it, then our community needs to be informed as well. So in 2014, the Richard A. Battle Foundation was established. And God did turn our pain into purpose through the foundation. And he did give us beauty for ashes. And I just want to say a little bit about Richard. Richard was not only a prominent musician in our Flint community, but he was also an educator. He was very close to completing, at the time of his passing, he was very, very close to completing and obtaining his PhD in secondary education. So in honoring his memory and continuing his legacy of education, the Richard A. Battle Foundation was birthed, with the mission, again, to raise awareness about carbon monoxide. And these are some of the pictures. We go out into the community and do presentations. We go to this one picture, we were at the farmer's market, and we're just talking to people and just raising awareness about carbon monoxide. And it's still a lot of people that are not aware of the dangers of carbon monoxide, and that, as Sharon mentioned earlier, it is totally preventable. Poisoning is totally preventable. We often hear about carbon monoxide called the silent killer. And I just want to say that it can't remain silent if we continue to talk about it, if we raise noise about it, if we have these critical conversations like we're having today. We have to just continue that and push the accelerator on it, because people need to know the dangers of carbon monoxide, but also that it is preventable. The foundation, we go out and we do presentations to churches, to senior citizen centers, to Black Club meetings. Anywhere that we're asked, we will come and do a presentation. And my family, we really just believe that if one life can be saved through the efforts of our foundation, then our efforts are not in vain. I just want to thank Sharon and the National Carbon Monoxide Awareness Association today for giving me this opportunity to share my story. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Tanya. Really appreciate your bravery in coming in and sharing all of your insight. You and your family, your community is the reason we're here having this important topic. So thank you. Next, I'd like to introduce Sean Toomey, the New Hampshire State Fire Marshal. We're very excited for him to share his insight on generator safety. He has some interesting case studies to talk about, and very happy you're here. Thank you, Sean.
Thank you, Sharon. On behalf of NASFM, I want to thank you for the partnership we have with the National Carbon Monoxide Awareness Association. We look forward to partnering with you at the upcoming conference in Kansas City. So I'll put a plug out, and I'm sure you will again, but hope to see some people in Kansas City here at the end of July into the beginning of August. So my name is Sean Toomey. I'm the New Hampshire State Fire Marshal, and I serve as the Secretary Treasurer of the National Association of State Fire Marshals. It's an honor to be here today. I'm actually kind of filling in for Butch Browning today. He's our Executive Director, and he's flying home from the NFPA conference this morning. So NASFM mission is twofold, as you see. It's to protect human life, property, and the environment from fire, and to improve the efficiency and effectiveness of state fire marshals' operations. So I think the protection of life and property is something that we all share, whether it's a CO specific effort, or when we deliver our mission down to the local level, the fire marshal's office is in each state. And NASFM is formulated as a nonprofit organization, and we really focus on education and sharing resources to educate the public on the hazards of fire and carbon monoxide. Jump off to the next slide here. So I think one of the biggest things that we find is that the lack of education. I know from us here in New Hampshire, we see about 2 carbon monoxide deaths each year. And it's not always necessarily related to generators, although we've had some generator deaths over the past few years. Departments in New Hampshire respond to about 2,800 carbon monoxide related calls a year. And the predominant issue that we find in our deaths, much like we find in our fire alarm systems, is the lack of alarms. So we need to continue our messaging across the country about the need for smoke and carbon monoxide alarms in homes. And as you can see on the slide here, I think that trend is true, right? The 36% have no working no working carbon monoxide alarms in their homes, and a lot of people aren't even aware of the need or the placement, or if they're working, you know, or the standards. And it's surprising to think that in this day that we don't have a good understanding of the requirements around smoke and carbon monoxide alarms. So I think we need to continue our work in this effort of education, and it's really the key to getting lives saved, is what I believe. Jump off the next slide. So talk just a quick minute about proper placement of smoke and carbon monoxide alarms. The smoke alarms have been a requirement really pushed since say in the 70s, and we saw a really steady decline in fire deaths. After that, we really saw widespread implementation of smoke alarms in homes, and I think we need to really continue to push that in on the carbon monoxide front. So we need them in our bedrooms, smoke and carbon monoxide alarms. We need them outside our bedrooms, and we need them on each level of our homes, including the basements. You know, really the only exception to the CO alarm is if there's no fuel gas appliance that's going to burn in the homes. But I think as we talk about, and we've heard from the tragic story that we just heard from Tanya, is that, you know, even if we don't have a fuel gas appliance in our house and we have a power outage and we resort to a generator, the generators can contribute to carbon monoxide poisoning and lead to death in our homes. I think I can share that thanks to Sharon, I carry a single gas CO meter everywhere I go and travel, and it's surprised me over the last couple of years how often that alarm goes off. My inspectional staff carry alarms in all of their day-to-day activities, and they report the same things. They're on construction sites, and they continually report back that the value of having those single gas meters with them, and having elevated CO levels on construction sites from generators. So I think that message needs to be shared widely, and we need to make sure that everyone has proper working smoke and carbon monoxide in their homes. It's in most residential place settings, you can get 10-year sealed battery ones now, which is a much easier ask than having an electrician come in an existing home and have them put them in, and they'll work, and they'll save lives. So all of the literature that comes with them provides some good guidance on exactly where to place them in the home. For many years, there was a lot of discussion about, you know, do they need to go up near the ceiling or down by the floor? And for a long time, we talked about putting them down by the floor because of CO being heavier than air. And what we've learned more recently is that it really doesn't matter so much that they're up high or down low. It's most important that you have them, and the CO will get dispersed throughout the space. You can't put them in the little pocket up by the ceiling where you end up having limited airflow, but it's most important that they're there. So anything you can do to help message the importance of having smoke and carbon monoxide alarms through educational outreach would be greatly appreciated. And I think the next slide here. So another thing we want to talk a little bit about today is the safe distances from working from generators to your home when they're in operation. I would say we've kind of gone all over the place on how far away should we put them, and it's gone from anywhere from 5 feet to, a lot of us say put them a safe distance away. What is exactly a safe distance? CPSC and some others are now putting them out to recommending 20 feet. I think one of the little bit of a challenges as we migrate from 5 feet to 10 feet to 20 feet is just making sure that we practice good electrical safety as well. We don't want to see plugged in extension cords and such to, so make sure that we upgrade the cord sets to reflect the distance that we're keeping them away. But, with the carbon monoxide being colorless, odorless gas, that silent killer, and having windows and door openings, it migrates, it gets into your homes, gets into the garages. We need to make sure that it's far enough away that it can be vented properly. We talked briefly, I guess, a few minutes ago as well about just from the fire safety perspective. I remember sharing a story with Brian and Mark, who will speak a little bit later, about running a generator for about 5 days after a snowstorm in my own home. And I was amazed at how much the snow melted. I never really paid attention to it until we were talking about this, but the snow melt on the exhaust side of my generator was probably 10 or 15 feet away after running that generator in the same spot for 5 days. And, you know, I think that's a testament for me, and a story that hits home for me of the importance of keeping the generator that 20 feet away. And you know, I think as we see as the data shows, is that people really, you know, it shows the lack of education, and we need to just make sure that people are aware of that safe distance. So, NFPA is pushing towards the 20 feet. The CPSC guidance is going to 20 feet, and I think we need to continue to message that. The positioning is very critical from the migration of the gas and also from a fire safety perspective. We hear stories regularly about people putting the generators in their garages to protect from the weather. And I think Mark will talk a little bit about that later, about their product that helps protect not only from the carbon monoxide level, but from the fire safety and electrical hazards of protecting the generator from that level. So next slide. So now we're going to try to be Butch. So Butch, they created a campaign several years ago after seeing a bunch of their storms, obviously significant flooding and such from the storms. And I believe there's a video here that we could share very briefly, but I'll let it run and then we can talk briefly about it. But this is a great campaign that Butch put together and his staff to educate consumers on the use of CO alarms and generators. Try to run that. That'd be great.
It's a link out,
is
to
it?
me. So yeah, so it'll be embedded into the slides, but
Okay.
I don't think it's baked into the presentation.
Okay. All right. So that's what I get for being the new guy and jumping in. So thanks. So yeah. So I mean, as I said, Butch is, you know, they've got Louisiana had some significant. Butch was before his executive director at NASM. He's the state fire marshal in Louisiana for many years. You know, so they put this program together. You know, I can say that back home we don't have quite this level of a program yet with the videos and such, but you know, we do a lot of messaging. We have a lot of wind and snow and ice storms here in New Hampshire in the Northeast, and my staff has put together some great single page, two page documents on the importance of generator safety. We work very closely with our Homeland Security and Emergency Management, and they message consistent with our messaging around the safety issues around generator placement, carbon monoxide alarms. And I think, you know, we could all take a page from Butch's work and make sure that these outreach and education efforts are widespread so we can promote higher levels of safety for generator and carbon monoxide. So again, thank you for the opportunity to speak for just a few minutes today. I think this is a very important initiative, and I know on behalf of NASFM, we value our partnership with the National Carbon Monoxide Awareness Association. We'll hold our own CO program here coming up, and you know, it's great attendance, and it's good messaging. You know, I've learned a lot. You know, I think one of the things I've learned from Sharon just is that even that low dose long-term exposures of CO makes a difference, and I think that's a critical takeaway that I've had and share with as many people as I can over the last couple of years. So thank you again, and you know, happy to answer questions at the end, or if something pops up in the question and answer session. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sean. Really appreciate you stepping in and your leadership, not only within the fire service, but also within community risk reduction and carbon monoxide safety. So thank you so much for your valuable insight. And we are also greatly honored to partner with NASM in the upcoming summit. Um, if you haven't registered already, please do so. If at all possible, if you can make your way to Kansas City, it'll be, we have a lineup of speakers. And we also have some fun events planned. So it should be a really fun week. Interesting topic speakers. We'll have international speakers and researchers. So it'll be really interesting and hope you're able to make it. Next, I'd like to introduce Mark Carpenter, CEO and founder of Gen Tent Safety Canopies. I first met Mark in 2015 at the Consumer Product Safety Commission. Mark mentioned to me that he witnessed an incident and was flabbergasted that there wasn't proper tools to use to protect the generator in inclement weather. And people were putting them in their garages to keep them safe. And Mark said, well, I invented a tent. And I think this is going to be the next big thing. And I thought that was brilliant. So it is my honor and pleasure to introduce Mark Carpenter. And I will talk to you in just a few minutes. We get to questions.
Well, thank you very much, Sharon, for that nice introduction. And good afternoon to everybody that's on this webinar. You know, each of us has an opportunity to help people safely weather power outages. And your interest to learn more on this topic puts you in a position to help others. And I very much appreciate that. For over a decade, my team has been dedicated strictly to portable generator safety. Portable generators are, in fact, life and property preserving devices, but they can be unknowingly misused, like many things, and they can pose serious danger. Our mission is really to advocate for standardized safety practices, especially when you're using a generator outdoors due to wet weather. Establishing safe distance standards and understanding why users sometimes resort to unsafe practices and what can we do to help them through that. My journey with generator safety began in 2008 when we had a massive and severe ice storm up here in New Hampshire. Our power was out for over 7 days. In this part of the country, freezing temperatures make it life-threatening, and if not life-threatening, then it's threatening to your property because pipes start freezing and bursting, and you get a total mess. Took me about a day to find a generator, and when I got it home, the instructions said, "Don't use it in an enclosed space," which I totally understood because of CO. And then the next thing it said was, "Don't use it in wet weather," which is exactly the time that you need to use a generator. So I was frustrated and concerned. And to be honest, I complained about it for about 3 years, and then left the position that I was in, and was encouraged to go find something else to do. The person encouraging me was my wife. And she said, "Why don't you go fix that generator thing you've been complaining about for the last 3 years?" So that's where it all began. And it ended up with the creation of the generator tent product category. Let's address some of the challenges and solutions for portable generator safety. You know, there's some really good news that has happened over the last several years in particular. Portable generator makers and standard bodies have continued to advance generator safety through industry standards like the UL 2201 and the ANSI G300 done by the PGMA, the Portable Generator Manufacturers Association. In fact, The vast majority of portable generators sold in the US in recent years, and virtually all of them sold at big box stores today, are PGMA ANSI G300 compliant. This means that they include CO sensors and shutoff mechanisms. And I have to tell you, as an associate member of the PGMA, I have seen this as the result of incredibly dedicated, thoughtful, and collaborative people at major portable generator makers, the leadership group of the PGMA, the CPSC, and also major retailers. CO sensing and shutoff technology is a major enhancement that acts as a fail-safe measure to mitigate hazards. While there are continuing pursuits to further enhance these technologies, it's important to note that most consumers simply lack awareness that the sensors already exist. And this is one of the areas where your ability to raise awareness can certainly help. Next slide. While existing safety protocols such as CO detectors and automatic shutoffs are valuable, they do have limitations. Relying solely on these measures can create a false sense of security and overlook other potential hazards. Keep in mind that CO detectors focus on providing a fail-safe path to reduce carbon monoxide hazards, but they may miss other safety concerns. And the question is, how do we help people avoid CO issues in the first place? Next slide. We can start with proactive measures to address the diverse proactive safety measures to address the diverse risks of generator usage. Our research, which can be accessed at the link on these various slides, and we'll get that link to you, indicates that consumers simply don't know where to run their generator. So we need to educate consumers about proper placement and ventilation. We have to promote safe refueling practices. We've got to offer wet weather guidance because people are going to use the generator during wet weather events on an ongoing basis. And we have to advocate for certified products that meet vigorous safety standards. Next slide. During crises or adverse weather events, generator users have to make quick decisions that can impact their safety. Understanding why consumers make certain choices in these high pressure situations is really important. It's been part of our research. These insights can help us develop better strategies to promote safer practices and minimize risk during emergencies. In a recent survey, 80% of the respondents said they use their portable generators primarily for backup emergency power. And next slide, as the CPSC staff reported, 75% of the portable generator CO incidents and fatalities are actually weather related. So we're using them as a result of emergency backup, and that result is because of wet weather events, severe wet weather events. Go ahead to next slide, yeah. When I faced this situation in 2008, the lack of clear guidance was really alarming. Expert guidance often leaves consumers with generally a coin flip decision. You can either run it indoors at an unsafe distance that poses risk of carbon monoxide poisoning or fire, or in your garage with the door open, which doesn't help at all. The CO stays in the garage. Or you can run it unprotected outdoors in storms, and you risk the risk of electrocution or damage to the generator. Or if you put it too close to the home, you risk starting a fire, as happened up here in Moultonborough just a couple of years ago. Many people end up using makeshift covers, or put a board on top of the generator, not really understanding what they're trying to protect it from. And those covers are made with flammable materials. And then they place the generator in dangerous spots. So although CO sensing technology will shut the generator off if the CO levels come too dangerous, we got to ask, what will users do? Will they restart it in a safer location? Or will they find a less risky spot and rely on the CO shutoff? Or will they just become irritated with the shutoff and try to find a way to disable it? I actually spoke with someone from our hometown yesterday. He's got family in West Virginia, Their solution is to put the generator in the garage and it'll be okay. That's exactly what he told me sitting right here in my office. You should have seen his expression when I explained to him that generators produce hundreds of times the CO that a modern automobile does, and the CO doesn't dissipate. And then I relayed how our own town lost an EMT during a Thanksgiving outage because she went into her garage when she got home to refuel her generator and she didn't make it out. Go to the next slide, please. We must standardize solutions-based messaging and tell consumers what they can do. Working together, combining great products, consumer advocacy with authorities, and education, I believe very strongly that we can help consumers achieve the proper level of confidence during power outages. Next slide. We propose a set of solution-based messaging that eliminates the conflicting don'ts and balance the don'ts with the do's. For example, don't use the generator indoors. Don't use your generator unprotected, exposed to rain or snow. Don't use it near your siding, deck, or other flammable materials. But let's look at the next slide and we'll balance that with what should the consumer do? You know, leaving consumers with the things that they shouldn't do only makes the process complex and error prone when they get into a crisis situation. So in this case, we're proposing to explain to them the effects of carbon monoxide poisoning and making sure that they've got detectors in the home. Run it 20 feet away from the house. And if you have to use it in a wet weather situation, then use a generator tent that has been NFPA rated so that it's not flammable. And you'll be in good shape. So you'll be in completely good shape to weather that storm. Next slide, please. With this balanced baseline, we can then begin to target specific accessory elements. For example, we would not want somebody to buy a 5-foot cord to connect their generator to the house. Why don't we make it be a 20-foot cord? And let's encourage consumers to make sure that they've got the right cord length. So things as simple as that are messages that we should be putting out there. Next slide. Adopting common and at-a-glance intuitive standardized language for operating generators eliminates ambiguity and can service unaware consumers by eliminating doubt and misinterpretation. Look at this slide. The message on the left and the message on the right basically say the same thing, but it's so much intuitively obvious with the message on the right side what they should and shouldn't do as far as placing their generator. So messaging with intent is very, very important to us. Next slide. Generator tents are a proven solution to encourage the safe outdoor use of generators. By recommending the use of generator tents during wet weather and adhering to standardized safe distances, we can provide comprehensive guidelines for safe generator use. Generator tents naturally eliminate confusion and promote appropriate generator use. Tents are used outside. Generators with tents on them are used outside. So through natural cognitive association, consumers will automatically be using their generators in a safe location. Next slide. It really is our combined responsibility to provide safe products and clear can-do messaging. As it relates to portable generator accessories, we should improve operation without compromising performance or introducing new hazards. While my products adhere to this principle, we know that there are other products in the category that do not. So therefore, it's important that any kind of a generator tent or enclosure must meet NFPA guidelines for flammability. Ensuring the safety of portable generators through rigorous testing and stringent safety standards is also crucial. Look for products that can show you the safety standards that they've been tested against. My commitment to safety and our commitment here at the Gentent Company to safety, and working with NASFM and the NCOAA, is our way to help empower people to use their generators confidently and effectively. Next slide. So collaborating again with the fire marshals is integral to ensuring Gentent products meet the highest safety standards. Fire marshals bring invaluable experience in fire safety, allowing for thorough product evaluation. By incorporating their feedback, we can enhance safety features and ensure compliance with regulatory requirements and provide user safety and superior products to the market. By sharing my story and these insights, I'm hoping to shed light on the importance of portable generator safety and the efforts that are being done in the background from many different organizations to move the entire topic forward, and the steps that we can all take together to protect users during emergencies. And again, I'd like to thank you for participating in this webinar, because if you pick up anything, just one tidbit from this that can help somebody to stay safe during the next crisis, then you're actually helping tremendously. So at this time, would you please allow me to introduce Brian Thomas. Brian is Gentent's Director of Marketing and Sales, and he's the mastermind that has done the yeoman's effort in bringing this webinar to you. Thank you.
Well, thanks, Mark. My name is Brian Thomas. I work for Gentent Safety Canopies, and one of the takeaways that we would like to offer with all the attendees, and then in perpetuity beyond this, is a toolkit that we've put together not only for carbon monoxide or fire safety, but really kind of the all-encompassing portable generator safety tips. We'll offer that link on our site, as well as with the NCOAA, who's hosting this as well. There's a ton of work that went into this, and it's a collaborative effort over the last, I'd say, couple years. There's some printable flyers, animated GIFs, some videos, some additional content that Marshall Toomey had mentioned for some of the efforts from not only NASFM, but Chief Browning's work as a Louisiana State Fire Marshal. So there's a number of items here that I think can be useful. Certainly a number of them that are extendable beyond just what Gentent offers, and we tried to make them as universal as possible and not product specific per se, but more on the safety messaging. Realistically, that is our primary focus as a business as well. So all of these can have the opportunity to embed your own logos and perpetuate the toolkits beyond just our webpage or anything beyond that. So at this time, I will invite all the panelists back into the webinar here, and we can open up the opportunity for questions. There are some that came in already, so let me pull those up here, and I can get these addressed to the right people if you bear with me a moment. Marshall Toomey did answer one. It came in through, it looks like it was an anonymous question, but Marshall Toomey, if you'd like to answer it, I'm happy to give you the platform too. The question was, at what ppm level for carbon monoxide does Marshall Toomey recommend the firefighters order an evacuation of the building?
Sure. So I indicated that typically the evacuations start around 30 parts per million. That aligns with most alarm threshold points for CO alarms. The interesting thing around CO obviously is there's a duration and threshold for the parts per million that really impacts us. So, but we typically, most of the alarms, as I said, go off at 30, and that's typically when we do the evacuation. As I mentioned, earlier, I think if we have an alarm in your home and you have the ones that have a display, I think it's important to occasionally watch that display. and be cognizant that any CO levels that you're getting in your home on a regular basis is cause to have someone come in and evaluate your systems to see where that CO is being generated, because you can get pretty sick from that low dose exposure over a great period of time. So kind of a long answer, but 30s tends to be the big threshold for most alarms.
Yeah, absolutely. And Mark, you had a question from Albert Donne. Do all the Gen 10 styles allow for unobstructed flow for the exhaust?
Yeah, that's a great question. Actually, that's one of the basic tenets of the design, at least of our generator tent, is that the exhaust must be clear and free of any obstructions, and we should not be obstructing the generator's ability to cool itself and to get fresh intake.
It looks like there are a couple comments that came in as opposed to some questions. One from B. Bush from USFA. Just a comment about the additional use case for portable generators now supporting EVs. I think just a comment that they'll be a bit more expansive in their use case.
Mhm.
And a couple comments on, and Sharon, you may be able to speak to this a little bit. The concept of, or maybe the misnomer that carbon monoxide is lighter or heavier or the same quality of air in terms of weight and how it disperses throughout a building.
Thank you. Happy to. Yeah, carbon monoxide has a molecular weight that is slightly heavier than air. However, due to the way that the air disperses throughout a room or building, that carbon monoxide mixes fairly evenly with the air. And therefore, the idea that you have to place a carbon monoxide either higher or lower due to that slight molecular weight, we know today is not accurate. So what Sean mentioned about keeping the alarms away from a corner makes sense, because the air doesn't tend to get into those corners. But anywhere other than the corners within the room should be fine.
And another attendee, anonymous attendee, wrote that a note that the UL 2034 home CO alarm certification or standard displays only from 0 from 1 to 29 ppm and won't alarm until over 70 ppm. Scott Lang from Honeywell asked Mark if there is a product standard for gen tents or generator tents.
Hi, Scott. Not yet. Stay tuned. We have some conversations going on with some standards making bodies. We've recognized that there actually has been a proliferation of some very unsafe products that violate the basic tenets of what a generator tent should be. And so we're working with appropriate standard bodies to see about getting a standardization together.
A question for Mrs. Battle. For folks, individuals or organizations that are interested in supporting the Richard Battle Foundation, what are some ways that they can get involved?
So they can get involved. We thank you again. We again are a 501c3 nonprofit organization, so we do operate solely on donations. Sharon, do you think I can like give you the information, or maybe I can put it in the chat? Okay, I'll do that.
Yeah, certainly. And we can follow up with the attendees with a link as well.
Okay, thank you.
And Tanya, I believe the main focus of your organization is to ensure that your community is completely protected with carbon monoxide alarms. Is that correct?
Yes, yes. And I meant to say that as well. We have partnered, we've done several giveaways where we've partnered with the local fire departments and gave away massive numbers of alarms. So yes.
Great.
There was a question at the top of the presentation, which Sharon, I think you had maybe grabbed offline. Denise Kolakowski had asked if the presentation would be available for download after the webinar. We will certainly make that available for everybody. There, as I mentioned, there was a number of embedded links and videos and content, but those will also be available with the safety toolkit after the fact as well. So we'll make sure the attendees get a link to that also. There was one other question about the cost of the Gen Tent. We can certainly talk through that with anybody. It's a product that's based on the fitment of your generator. So right now they start at around $125 and go up to about $215 on the high side of things.
Brian,
There's
for those of us who are not generator owners, how much does a portable generator typically cost?
Yeah, similarly, it ranges in price. So there are some kind of low output portable generators that you can get around a few $100s, but then there's monster practically home standby units that are 28,000 watts that end up being around $4,000, $5,000. So there are some very significant larger portable generators out there. I know for our product line, we have fit just over 3,000 different generators now. So there's a lot out there.
The typical power required for a home is going to put people in kind of the $800 to $800 and up kind of price range. And then there's a whole, like Brian said, there's a whole bunch of features and power levels beyond kind of the basics. But you can expect to spend about $800 at a minimum to get a reasonably good generator. If you've got sensitive electronics in the house, then you really should be spending a little bit more to make sure that the power coming from the generator has been properly set for those sensitive electronics.
There's another question from Scott Lang at Honeywell. Have there been CO incidents at RVs and campgrounds?
Can I take this one?
Sure.
So that's a very interesting question. NCOAA has partnered with NASCAR, and NASCAR has on-site campgrounds at their racetracks, and generators have been an issue. And so, yes, there are generator issues at campgrounds and RVs. We're located in Southeast Michigan, and one of the NASCAR tracks leases their campgrounds to music promoters. And a few years ago, a group of 5 high school football players took their grandfather's RV to watch a Faster Horses country music concert. 3 of the gentlemen didn't make it. And it's simply because most people do not understand carbon monoxide. And to keep yourself safe is so complicated that during these situations when it's an emergency or it's not a normal situation, like you're at a concert or in an RV that's not yours, it is just so complicated to stay safe. And then the venues don't typically have the maintenance personnel or security guards equipped with the CO detection that's required to ensure that everyone's safe. So yeah, RVs are a huge issue.
Yeah, I know that was it was a topic of concern with the Northeast CO Alliance up here in New Hampshire as well. I remember specifically speaking with Deb Samaha from Dartmouth Health around some of the efforts that were underway with the NASCAR organization up here in Loudon, New Hampshire. So I know they're working to improve a lot of the messaging, to your point, Sharon. Scott Lang asked, and Marshall Toomey, I would probably point this towards you. Scott Lang from Honeywell is asking, what are the code requirements for permanently installed standby generators? What distance are they required to be installed at?
Sure. Can I go back one quick second? So on the NASCAR front, we have the NASCAR race this weekend coming up. And we had a very close call at one of the races. It was last year, year before. And so now working with the New Hampshire Motor Speedway, they do a flyer handout on the education front. Every camper is getting information on the carbon monoxide because there's generators running everywhere up there. So, but back to the question on the location of fixed generators, it's typically, some of them go down to like 18 inches now, but there's a lot of guidance from the manufacturers about spacing for fire safety and for the migration of gas and openings and such. So that's a little bit of moving target, much like the moving target on the portable ones has been, but where they're fixed, it's really up to the manufacturers and how those devices are set up and installed. I think there's a little bit more control typically about placement to windows, the assembly itself, the structure, the generator, how it's built and how it's vented and all of that. That's a little different than when we just wheel out a generator from our garage or barn and put it next to the house for the portable scenario. So I know it's not a great answer, but it's manufacturer dependent.
And I think there's a couple other comments in terms of both RVs as well as fire rescue vehicles, and it may be similar. So Albert Donne had commented that in a crowded campground or infield, it's impossible to for a portable generator to be 20 feet away from your RV and other people's RVs, and many other built-on RVs. Many other built into RVs, so portable generators built into RVs are exhausting sideways at their neighbors. And similarly, Tom Straub had asked, a number of fire departments have light and air trucks with onboard generators. Are there rules or guidelines for these as well?
So for a RV or generator at a campground, we advocate for a generator stack. It basically is just an exhaust stack that allows the carbon monoxide and fumes to travel 10 feet above what people are normally breathing to get that out of the space.
Okay. There was a question about which CO shutoff we were referring to in the slide presentation previously from Gordon Johnson. I think if I can answer that, we were actually referring to both the UL 2201 as well as the PGMA G300. In terms of the specific parts per million and where they shut off, I think that's actually currently in a larger forum national discussion that is under a proposed rulemaking. So I can pass that information to you, Mr. Johnson, on the other side of the conversation here. And I think that is all the open questions I had. If there's any more questions, I think we're right at time. We can probably answer them as a follow-up email, or yeah, we'll provide the toolkit, the safety toolkit, as well as links to the Richard A. Battle Foundation, obviously NCOAA, and the NASFM conference is coming next month. Gen 10 will be there, so we're excited to see all you folks, and happy to answer any other questions offline if anybody wants to reach out to us, or if there's any particular digital asset or some sort of element of the toolkit that we can be helpful with. We're happy to do so. Awesome.
Thank you so much for everyone's time. Appreciate your spending your lunch hour with us. Look forward to seeing you in Kansas City. Thank you, Gen 10, for the amazing content. Thank you, Fire Marshal Toomey, for your wonderful insight. And thank you, Tanya Battle, for sharing your heartfelt story and experience with us. Hope you have a wonderful week. Take care.
Thank you.